To kind of dig into the wallet a little bit, faith in finance. Drew Blazsik is in studio with us now from Adrian College. Drew, how are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. Nice morning, I would say.
Yeah, and you're sitting in Dave's chair because he's traveling.
And it helps out, yeah. When I sit in Dave's
so
chair, I feel a little more accomplished.
You look taller for some reason this morning.
I don't know. I'm so a growing boy.
Yeah. Last week we talked a little bit about distributism, and I know there's so. I mean, these concepts. You can't do them in 3-4 minutes. You have to kind of, develop them. So what you got for us today?
So I was kind of thinking about, you can listen to a lot of distributists, how they talk and the philosophy of distributism and what how it should look. So I was kind of thinking of through Catholic social teaching, what are simple public policies we could pass to become a more Catholic social teaching economic system. So I came up with some principles here.
Nice.
Now, number one, we have to first... to grasp the concept of liberty as a Catholic would see it. So from both the perspective of the American ideals and the Catholic social teaching, so we want to identify this. While libertarian thinking often defines liberty as the freedom to pursue personal desires or what happiness is in the American sense. So when I say freedom in the American sense, that's what they think. This is what I want to do. But Catholic social teaching diverges from that. And it emphasizes the true liberty lies in our ability to fulfill our moral obligations and to do, and this is a key word, what we ought to do. So Catholic social teaching teaches, do we have the ability to do what we ought to do rather than what pleases us? So that's true freedom. And if you think about the role of a father, what we have to do is take care of our family. So do we have the ability to take care of our family? And this is where the distributist, I think, mindset would come in. So I kind of created 7, I think, public policies that we could pass. I don't know if I'm going to cover them all today.
I kind of like this idea. That
we could become more of a Catholic social teachings through the writings of Heinrich Pesch and the encyclicals. So, and this is kind of my thought. So number one, we have a usurious economic system we talked about before, and that starts with our monetary policy. So I think number one policy we need to do, and this will be very difficult to pass, is to end our debt-based system, which means that we need to end how we create money in this country. It's created through debt. So my suggestion is something called the Chicago Plan, which some famous economists has backed in the past, or the social credit by C.H. Douglas in the 1920s. Those are two. I think the Chicago Plan is the most... we could do something like that, and there's an economist, Michael Kumhoff, that totally is on board with that plan. So we need to start there. Number 2, subsidiarity in governance. So my philosophy would be we should pass a constitutional amendment that the state, centralized powers, or the federal government should not be able to pass laws where the city or the most local ordinance can show they have the ability to govern themselves. So that would go to the courts, and the city would say, look, we can do this. We could do our traffic cameras or something that the state is trying to overreach. So subsidiarity laws, that it's always from the most local level of control rather than a centralized federal government.
That's a good idea.
Number 3. Now, this is one you have to think more about, but I think in the past we've never had it before, is eliminate property tax. Freedom does not... is what we ought to do, and that starts at the home, that we shouldn't have high property taxes where people have to worry about when they get older, I have to work in a form of another company to pay property tax. So it's like we're always renting from the government.
Yeah.
And I think true freedom would be that we don't have to worry about that, and that we can make our decisions without worrying about, if I was let go of my company, my business, to say I spoke my mind about Catholic issues and they let me go, I don't have to worry about property tax. Number 4, this might where we're going to leave off today, is reform the 401k investments. The one who created it was Ted Benna, founded in 1978. And he has reported said that the invention of the 401k destroyed the extended family. Where we used to take care of our parents, and we used to build part of our house where our parents would retire and live with us. And then the 401k system, what it did, would create, we put all our money aside, we invest in globalist companies, and then they do a company match. and you typically only have like 20 investments that you can invest from, like Vanguard, BlackRock, those companies that are against our Catholic ideals, and we don't see that money until retirement or close to death. And it's all paper, and then when we die, we pass it to our kids. So this is my suggestion, is that we should be able to use our company match and our pre-tax dollars, and we can invest in real physical assets like property, machinery, land, or you can use that money to pay off your house quicker so you're not in debt for 30 years. That'd be a true investment.
Wow.
And
you
I think
invest yourself.
That would
you
be-
can invest
yeah,
yourself,
that'd be
or you
revolutionary.
start a business where instead of waiting until you die and you pass it to your kids, why not when you're young, if you have 100,000 saved up in your 401k, you could use that money and create a pizza shop down the road, and then you have more of a family business together, building real capital, real investments together. I think that would be an important one. And that's a simple policy we have to pass, where the IRS code for 401ks, how company match, how you distribute that money to real physical local assets, which would benefit the company, rather than going to, I would say, globalist companies that are totally against our ideals. And I'm guilty of that too. I have money in a 401k that I have no. And if you go to social Catholic teaching on that, and Thomas Aquinas, a true investment is where we are involved in the investment, not where we put money to someone and we have no clue what they're doing with it, especially if it goes against our ideals.
Very true, and that's a really good point. And going back to your number one on the list, kind of eliminating that debt-based, system of growth. Would you have to wipe out the national debt before you could start something like that? Would you have to get down to zero? And
That's a really good question on that. I think, according to the Constitution, Congress should be the ones who coin and mint money. And in the 1800s, after the first national bank went down for roughly 70 years, we had state banks created its own currency, and it was always based on deposits. So if you deposited gold, you're given a certificate that you have that money based on there. And in today's system, it's really based on nothing. It's fiat, where the money is created from just taking out loans. And we know through Catholic teaching that that could be a sin with interest. But that's a good question. The debt is out of control. It's 33 trillion right now.
It has been for so long. Well, all I can say is Drew for Fed chair. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, man. I don't know about that.
You don't want that job.
Drew Blazsik, always a pleasure, and pretty eye-opening stuff here this morning, so thank you for it.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll do this again next week?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Perfect.